somehow I ended up in the downtown St. Paul jail. I got arrested in Ridley, but whatever. So I remember waking up in the downtown St. Paul jail, and this is in '88, because my DWI would have been summer of '88. And so it was still overlooked the Tasty Bread plant. I don't know how many of you are old enough to remember that, but you remember? Okay. And so I remember, I'm in jail, so I'm drunk, passed out. So I remember waking up at like 4 in the morning. And oh, what the fuck is this? Looks like jail. Well, I couldn't possibly be in jail again. And I roll over and go back to sleep. Then sure as shit, 7 a.m. Stale donut, orange juice through the bars, and I'm in jail again. And this had been happening over and over and over for many years, for a whole host of things. You know, I never got in trouble for anything serious by the grace of God, totally the grace of God. And so that was kind of like a big aha moment. What the hell's going on here? I blessed, and I got lucky that I sobered up young. I was 23, and I just really blessed that I sobered up young and I saw it. And it wasn't so much that my life was so sideways, but I just remember my friends, again, I was young, but my friends are starting to build lives. They're starting to start careers. There's not, I was just working to support my habits. So I usually quit a job right before I got fired. But I got friends getting married, starting families, buying houses, starting careers, and I'm not doing anything. I'm renting what the hell were we living in? A duplex on the east side, me and Carrie and his girlfriend. We're renting up downstairs of a duplex on the east side. And my life's just not going anywhere, and I always kind of had some ambition. And I don't now, but I used to, but anyway. And so it just really hit me. And so there was a guy at Rosedale Chevy in the used car department, been sober for a couple of years. And I go back to work the next morning, get the car out of impound, and I fucking had to go to work because the used car manager was in jail or some fucking thing the night before. So now I was hungover, new DWI charge, back at work, got the car, brand new car out of impound, and all of a sudden I'm thrown into work, do this, and I took just enough time to go over to Gary M and say, hey, would you take me to a meeting? And he did what we do. Yes, of course you can come to a meeting. Where do you go? Maplewood AA, Tuesday nights in the late meeting. Okay. And so that started that. Now I'd like to say that I got a sponsor right away and dove into the steps right away and fucking was carrying them and had sponsees and was doing service work and I didn't do shit. Didn't do shit. Pretty much stayed sober. I talked about the steps, did a little bit of digging in, but not a lot. And part of it was, it's important to remember we all got a journey. Everybody's got a journey in life. We're all right where we should be. But I spent the first
Welcome to my life.
This is really my sweet young thing. I'm trying to remember. So what got me to really dive into the steps was my first divorce. 23 years ago. When the hell did I meet that nut? I don't know. I sobered 2-3 years. I'm out with this idiot used car manager. I meet her. There's always a them, isn't there? Him and a her. So, long story short, we meet, hook up, end up shacking up. She gets pregnant, which is my son, which is a blessing. He's a real blessing. Although he bought a banjo. I know, it's like he's going to be single soon or something. I don't know. He is my kid. He's 30. Great kid. And that's another blessing now that has nothing to do with me, but my kids, so I got 3 stepdaughters and my son, they're all normies. They all got issues, we all do. If you're human, you got issues, but they're all doing great. They're all normies. It's a real blessing. And so I meet her, and she's pregnant, we get married, and it's a freaking disaster from the get-go. It was basically a one-night stand with 2 train wrecks who got knocked up and then shacked up and got married. What a shit show. And so finally we're getting divorced. And that's what finally caused me to do this. So, some of you have heard me talk about how there's points in life. Okay, this crisis right here is happening. Whatever it may be, fill in the blank. There's this crisis. I can go nuts, I can relapse, or I can go forward and slug my way through it. And for whatever reason, I've been surrounded by people, my higher power, of course, that have allowed me to just kind of go, okay, this is freaking awful, but I'm going to try to go forward. I actually remember Mike P., you know him, Mike Pappas. We were working together in the car business, and by this point, I'm way up there in the car business, management-wise, way up there. And Mike was working for me, and I'm going nuts through this divorce, because perceptions, Clancy talks about, it's a disease of perception. My perception had been through this marriage, but I'm doing everything fine. Why in the world would anybody want to divorce me? My God, it doesn't even compute that somebody couldn't be happily married to me, except for this. Right here.
You're not married.
So, what King Baby Tyrant was doing was, okay, God, you've got earth to run. I'll take care of the house, the business, and the kids and the wife. I'll run that. Take care of that. You take care of earth. I'll run that. Now I don't know about your higher powers, but my higher powers got a great sense of humor. He took all that shit away from me. So Mike looks at me one day and he says, why don't you go get a shrink? You got insurance and a couple bucks? Go get a shrink or rent. We used to say rent a friend, but when you say rent a friend, people go, what? So off I go. I find this shrink, and she was great. And I dive into the steps, and a friend of mine was actually my first sponsor, TC, grabs me and we start doing service. You're going to do the DWI thing with me. And I'm like, what the hell is he talking about? Off we go to do the DWI thing. So we're doing that. And I was just open and willing, honest, open and willing, like it talks about. I was honest, open, and willing to do what it took to slug my way through that divorce. What also came out of that, I got fired from that job. I was sick of the car business. I was just sick of it. And that industry's changed dramatically. So I could kind of see the writing on the wall that I needed to be done with that from a financial standpoint. So I can't. So now, divorced, I'm living at my mom and dad's house. Or on the river. We had a boat down on the river, so I was staying there sometimes too. And I'm sober at that time, 12 years. Yeah, and going nuts. But in the midst of the going nuts, going to meetings, lots of meetings, hanging out. TC always said, run with the winners. And so I'm trying to run with the winners as much as I can. I'm going on retreats, men's retreats, AA retreats, Gopher State Roundup, Heartland Roundup. Oh, and speaking of Gopher State Roundup, everybody remember we have the best sober events committee chair in North America. Mm-hmm. She needs help with something, help her out. And so I'm doing all this stuff. And so what came of that was I began to create a relationship with my higher power. So I grew up Catholic. So I still had that religion. And this mean old priest standing up at the lectern saying, you're all gonna go to hell for doing that shit you're doing. I see it, I know, and blah, blah, blah. So, again, part of that's my perception. There's billions of Catholics around the world that don't hear that. However, I heard it, and most of us hear it. You know, the guy up there going, ah, and everybody else in the audience is going, oh, or in the church is going, oh yeah, that's a good point. Okay, great, yeah, I'm glad I came there. And we're sitting there going, oh, fuck that guy, I don't know what he's putting me for. And so, I learned through that process, religion and spirituality are two completely different things. Today, I feel that our religion is those right there. Religion is just a toolbox to get you your relationship with your higher power, however that looks. Church, whatever. I don't care. That's our toolbox, though. It talks about that in the big book, a spiritual toolkit laid at our feet. That's our toolkit to create a relationship with a higher power. I think that life's journey is about how we relate to our higher power, and then everybody in our lives, of course. But how we relate to our higher power from point A to point B, birth to death. That's what life's about. It's not about, it's about relationships, of course, and helping people and that kind of thing. But it ain't about stuff. It ain't about your freaking job. Yeah, it just ain't. It's really about enjoying life, taking care of yourself. For us, it's carrying the message, of course. So, divorced, I changed careers. Now I'm a truck driver. I'll talk more about that in a minute. I've been talking too much. And so now I'm single and I've got to get laid. So, holy crap. And I start slugging my way through all these other girlfriends and relationships and things. And once again, my higher power wants to teach me a lesson. And so,
Honesty.
I told her she'd have to come tonight. And so,
I'm the normal one.
You
So
are.
that's